Hello, everybody. The Frank Fryer here, aka Father Nicholas. This is a sort of a little surprise video today. It's been really, this topic I'm going to talk about today has really been sitting on my heart, and I've been stewing a lot about it yesterday in prayer and this morning in prayer. And finally, I decided to make this video, and I'm going to talk a little bit about pro-life issue, particularly that of abortion. Why is that? One of the things I have to live with that's always been on my mind and my heart for a long time is that, I'm part of the sort of post abortive world in the United States of America. And what do I mean by that? I was born in 1983, well after Roe v. Wade, and my mother was impregnated and conceived me in her womb in the fall of 83, and in the fall of 82, and I was born in 83. And, she was right out of high school. Here's a young woman, rural life in Michigan, could easily have drove to or had someone take her to Flint, Detroit, etc., and got rid of me. Could have killed me in her womb, and gone on with her life. Gone to college or a variety of other things. But for whatever reason, I've never really had this conversation with my mother, but she decided to have me and to allow me to be born into the world. But that idea that, she could have gotten rid of me, that sort of, it was becoming okay and acceptable to sort of be rid of a child in this way. And I had a chance during a part of my life that I wasn't even aware of my own being yet because I was growing in the womb, that I could not exist. I maybe could have been just gotten rid of as an inconvenience. But, my mother chose life. She chose to allow me to be born in the world. And my father, being a man of great virtue, who I respect and love very much, just as I love and respect my mother, stayed by my mom, supported my mom, took care of me too. So having both my parents there, stepping up to respond to caring for this child, both of them being very young people in their own right and in their own lives. And then, I look at my brother, and I have one younger brother, who I love and respect dearly. And one of the great gifts I have as I'm getting older is he and I have just some deep and beautiful conversations as older men in our lives now. I was born when I was a baby, very sick, infections, and I had walking issues and hearing issues and all these things. So I was in that light and in that way somewhat of a difficult child because of my illnesses and other issues. And just a couple years after me, my mom became pregnant again with my brother, and her and my dad could easily have said, Dustin, my legal name was such a problem for us and such, a burden and needed so much special attention, and he still needs special attention. They could have easily gotten rid of my brother. But they didn't. They accepted him. They accepted his gift. They allowed him to be born into the world. And one of the great gifts that I've been able to just bear witness to my brother's life is, he's been married for many years now to a wonderful woman who I've been able to get to know through their time of dating and then their marriage, who in her own right is just an amazing woman. And to see her as a mother to my nieces, her daughters, is just something that humbles me whenever I get to visit them and I get to see this. And this woman has been able to just bring out this greatness in my brother, this beauty in my brother, this tenderness, this gentleness, this love that was just laying inside of him. She was able to bring it out through this marriage that they have, and through the love that they have for each other. They have two daughters now, two little girls, my nieces, who, to say they are a source of joy is an understatement. They're sort of like a bedrock of joy in my life right now. And as they grow and their personalities are coming out, and just to see that really, the sky are the limit for these two. They're so imaginative and creative, even though they're so young. And to know that all of this could not have been. It could have easily been erased and eradicated in the whole life of the family and whole life of the area and every people I've impacted and everybody that they could impact, could have been totally different, is a scary thing and a lived reality that the young have to deal with these days, knowing that they could have easily have been gotten thrown away. And that's one of the dangers and the downsides and the burdens and the destructive nature that is abortion. Is it just sort of makes life arbitrary. I'm more important than you. Now, That can be a very rough statement. And I'm just going to let it stay there because it is rough. And there's two things that sort of frustrate me whenever one of the reasons I'm making this video is because the March for Life is going on right now in Washington, D.C. It's a prophetic moment in the life of the Church of the United States, standing up for people's right to exist in the world. And there's two things that really frustrate me when this event happens. The first thing is I always read a lot of statements, oh, you guys are just pro-birth, you just want babies in the world, and then you don't care for them. Well, I can't speak for other Christian groups. I can't speak for other religious groups. I can't speak for other secular groups. All I can do as a Catholic is lend my voice a little bit to the Catholic faith here in the United States. And the amount of charity that the Catholic Church, to the multitude of parishes and the multitude of dioceses that are in the United States, is unprecedented in terms of caring for pregnant women through pregnancy services, of providing food, shelter, money, job training, adoption services, even though some of our adoption services have been shut down in states because of political things. And to suddenly say, oh, you guys don't care about these things is not true and is a lie. And I can only speak as a Catholic priest and as a Carmelite friar, and and having been in a multitude of different dioceses throughout the United States, and knowing that the avid sort of tenacity of the Catholic Church to care for the disenfranchised, to care for those on the periphery, to care for those that are poor and are hungry, are unprecedented. And Catholics aren't perfect people. We fall short. Of course, and different bishops, different priests, different religious, different laity, a multitude of ways fall short. But on a whole, and I, try to find a diocese that doesn't do some amount of care for the poor in their area. I don't believe you can find it in the United States, let alone around the world. Every Catholic diocese has some office for social outreach and social justice, and a part of that is pro-life, and not just working at ending the scourge that is abortion, but caring for the women in need who are thinking about an abortion, and not just through words but through actions. Those that are in the post-abortive, in dealing with that loss and the consequences of their action, providing spiritual and psychological care through different retreats and encounters that will help them to have healing in their life if their heart's open to it, caring for the homeless. And this is, so people that sort of claim, you guys are just, you guys being Catholics are just about pro-life is not true. It's not true, So, and the only reason that, that seems like sort of a mantra for people that work against the church in this way and say those things is because, caring for the homeless doesn't get on the news, doesn't get in newspapers, doesn't gain traction on social media, because it's a monotonous, everyday grind of caring for the sick and the poor, and of not wanting to advertise those things, because those individual people, whether they're homeless, whether they're out of work, whether they're mentally ill, whether they're in prison, have dignity, and they don't deserve being exploited through publications because, oh, look at the great work that we're doing here. We're caring for the poor. Look at all these great pictures that we can show you. They have right and they have dignity themselves. And part of respecting that thing is not exploiting their need through publications and things like that. You sort of see that sometimes, and it's being called out a little bit right now. People going to quote unquote third world countries, I prefer, developing countries, and going on sort of a publicity circuit with cameras and recordings and et cetera, saying, look at all the great things we're doing. Just do it. Just do it. It's that simple. And as a Catholic Church, that's what we're doing. As imperfect as we are as agents within the church, we're trying to do our best. So people that sort of use that mantra, and I hear that from sometimes Catholics in the church, I hear that from people outside the church. And this is the other thing that upsets me that I usually see around the March for Life time. And I hope, pro-life marchers find this video and they can find it as a source of nourishment, because it is a very strong, youthful, prophetic witness for us here in the United States and hopefully for the world. But a lot of things I hear is, well, pro-life is all these things. And they say, yes, we have to protect the unborn, but there's the homeless we have to care for, and we have to care for those in prison and the sick and the aged and the infirmed and all these things. And I absolutely agree. Pro-life means all those people deserve to be cared for, deserve to be nourished, deserve to be supported, reminded of how important and how beautiful they are in the eyes of God, and that they have a right to certain things, to food, to shelter, to water, etc., to compassion. But when people talk about that at this moment, instead of bringing that up throughout the year, but particularly at this moment to say, well, all these things are pro-life, you know, I feel that in a way that that is an attempt to sort of maybe water down the work of people that are working to end abortion in the United States. And I can't read hearts, it's not up to me. But whether a person's in jail, whether a person's homeless, whether a person's poor because of being underpaid or not having a job, mentally, etc., all these people were given the gift of life. They were allowed to exist. And this moment, as many people within the church and people from a multitude of different organizations go to Washington, D.C. to bear witness to the right for people to exist from the womb to natural death, to suddenly water that down because someone might view that as too aggressive, I find very disheartening, and it sort of gets me a little upset and a little angry. You know, just let this moment be. Let the people speak up, that all these people, no matter what happens in their life, whether a person becomes a great doctor, a great lawyer, or they become homeless because of mental illness, whether they commit crimes or et cetera and go to jail, everybody has a right to exist. Everybody has a right to exist. And to suddenly say, well, you know, you're allowed to exist, but if a person wants, they can kill you in the womb, is a tragedy and is a sad thing. And I'm not a woman. I will never experience what it's like to have life grow inside of me. That is something the Lord has held back from me when he allowed me to be born a man. And that'll always be something foreign to me. But as a man, one of the things I can do is offer up my own life in a spiritual way and in a charitable way, allowing myself to die to who I am, to care for women and family in need so they aren't put in a situation where they feel abortion is the way out. So if a woman's in college and becomes pregnant, being able to know that I'm doing things that support maybe housing for them, so they can carry the child to term and can rear that child. And if they don't feel that they can rear and raise that child, that there are great adoption organizations out there that will make sure that her child is protected, safe, and cared for by love, by a love of a family out there. And as this video goes along, I've used language that some people might be frustrated with, some people might yell at me with, some people might chastise me about, some people may find strength and hope about. But the reality is I'm only able to make this video and share some of the things within my heart, knowing that I could have easily have been aborted and gotten away with, thrown out, for lack of a better word. I'm only here because my mother allowed me to be born. And there's no words to express the gratitude and the thanks that I have for my mother for allowing me to be born into this world and also to have her love in my life. And then also my father, who stepped up as a man and cared for me, cared for my brother, and cared for his wife, my mother. Even though as a young man himself could have easily just thrown us aside and ran away like many men are doing today. And is a great burden for the masculine presence in our society. You know, men are so quick to sort of abandon their responsibilities, you know, and to run away from caring for their children and their women in their life. To know that I have this father that stepped up and cared for his wife and me and my brother out of great sacrifices of his own. And as people are going to DC to remind everybody that each human being has a right to exist, that it's from the womb to death, that, you know, we have to get over this desire that our bodies are our own, when every human being is a gift. My parents gave me the gift of life by allowing me to be born. In sort of this sense, like I'm a radical, autonomous agent. There's somewhat of a falsehood there, because I didn't have control of where I was going to be born, how I was going to be born, or even if I was going to be born at all. And so every day, just from that idea that I was allowed to be birthed into the world, my life is a gift. And trying to live out of that giftedness and bearing witness to that giftedness and caring for all those in need as a man that believes in the pro-life message, that believes each human life is someone that is loved by God for all eternity. And that from that love there is a dignity that they have within their own being. and as a Christian, knowing that I am called to care for them as my brother and sister, no matter the cost to myself, is why we have this pro-life march. People have a right to exist. And then once this march is done, the witness has been out, and hopefully lives have been saved, to go back into the world, to go back into our local communities and begin to put that witness into practice, to care for mothers in need, children that need to be adopted, sick children, and also the homeless, the imprisoned, the sick, the aged, all these people. But today, the pro-life march, the March for Life in Washington, D.C., is a time of prophetic witness in which we as a people, as the Catholic Church, along with a multitude of others, can say humans have a right to exist in the world and not to be killed in the womb. And we can't allow ourselves in this moment to have that watered down, but to allow that voice to ring out in a world that has grown deaf to the truth that I believe that each life is a gift. And to be deaf to the giftedness of the others and to our own giftedness is a real tragedy and really harms society as a whole. So this is one of my longer videos, and I thank you if you stayed with me through it. My name is Father Nicholas. I'm a Carmelite friar. I'm also known as the Frank Friar, and I felt called to make this video today because of my own reality that I could have easily been aborted by my mother, but I wasn't, and I was allowed to exist in the world. I was allowed to be born into the world. And I just reflect on my own life and all those that I've been able to impact and all those that have been able to impact me. And I just think, wow, life is such a gift. And as a Catholic, being able to go forward and to try to cultivate that pro-life, to care for all those in need. But at this moment in time, being able to bear witness that, abortion is a tragedy. And as Catholics, we need to make sure we aid all people in such a way that they know that they don't need this practice. Is of the utmost importance. And today we say, no, abortion is not okay. It is not socially acceptable. It is not a good. And if you like this video, you can click the like button. If you don't, click the dislike. Leave your comments. I ask that you leave tasteful comments, whether you hate what I say. There's no need for cursing. Share with me. If you're a woman that's gone through abortion, you're not an evil person. You are a daughter of God that is deeply, profoundly loved, and there is healing possible for you out there. And if you're a man that made the choice to betray your children and to abandon a woman in need, there's healing for you also, for you are a son of God, loved by the Father for all eternity. So know that I'm with you and know that I'm praying for you, my brothers and sisters. For all those that are going down to the march, including my own Carmelite brothers, I wish I could be with you, but I can't. Know that I'm with you. Know that I'm praying for you. And may God continue to provide you with his life so you can continue to go forward and be prophets of life for all those that you meet in this world. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Thank you for your time. God bless.